Hi everyone and welcome to a brand new tutorial video, and today's song in question is Ed Sheeran's Thinking Out Loud. I was going to do a loop tutorial today. This song was actually requested by one of my subscribers, by the way, but I was going to do a loop tutorial today, but the camera and tripod that I used to use belonged to a friend of mine and he's had them back. So I've got a new camera but I don't have a tripod yet, so I'm using the mic stand that's usually here as a camera holder today, so I can't do anything with the loop station, but I'll get some new equipment and I'll be back on that as soon as possible. So let's get stuck straight in to today's tutorial, which includes a little bit of finger picking, but I actually think that this song is great for beginner finger pickers, which is why I've chose it, partly why I've chose it anyway. It's very, very basic. The chords are as straightforward as they come, and the actual finger picking pattern itself is pretty much just all fingers at the same time. And it's a good way to kind of develop that skill and build up the competence, really, to be able to finger pick and sound like you know what you're doing, if that makes sense. So first things first, I'm going to go over the chords to the first chord progression, which, as I said, they're really, really straightforward. The first chord is D, standard D chord. The second chord is a D with an F sharp bass, which is essentially the same thing. The D is played with the first finger on the second fret of the G string, the second finger on the second fret of the top E string, the thinnest string, and the third finger is on the third fret of the B string. And then for the second chord, what we're doing is moving the first finger to the fattest string, the bottom E string, same fret, the second fret, and the second finger is going to move up 2 strings to replace where the first finger was a minute ago, so it's on the second fret of the G string. So that leaves us with this chord. So that change is quite straightforward, and it's a good one to know as well because Ed Sheeran uses that chord quite a lot as a transition, sometimes between a G and an E minor. He'll go as like a transition chord, so it is a handy one to know. And then the third chord of that chord progression is a G, straightforward G, first finger on the second fret of the A string, second finger on the third fret of the bottom E string, the fat string, the third finger on the third fret of the B string, and the fourth finger, the pinky, on the third fret of the top E string, the thin string. So that's the chord of G. And then the last chord is A. I cheat with A a little bit, I just bar it with the first finger. So that chord progression, the first chord progression, as I said, D, that D with that bass, the G and the A. And that's where we get to the finger picking pattern, which is fairly straightforward. We're starting with the thumb, the first finger, the second finger and the third finger, and we're not going to use the pinky really for this. And I'm using the D, the G, the B and the E string for the first chord. So the thinnest 4 strings, just cover those with those fingers, so you've got those fingers for that first chord of the chord progression. And then what is something that you should know about finger picking, especially basic finger picking like this, is generally speaking the thumb will follow the bass line of the song, or at least it plays the root note of the chord. So in this chord, the thumb is resting on the D string, which is open in this case. So that's the root note of the chord of D, is D. So the thumb is the one that's playing that bass note, if you like. With the second chord, the D with the F sharp bass, the thumb is playing the F sharp note because that's the bass note of the chord. For the G, the thumb plays the note of, you guessed it, G, because that's the root note of the chord of G. And for A, the thumb is playing the note of A. So the thumb on its own goes like, so you see what I mean, the thumb is playing the bass, sort of bass line all the way through this song. So I went off on a bit of a tangent there, but hopefully you're still following me. So we're going, I'll start that sort of chord progression again with regards to the finger picking pattern, just in case I've lost anybody there. So the thinnest 4 strings for the first chord, and then the second chord I've obviously already taught you the fretting hand. We're moving to that. And all that happens with this hand is the thumb moves from the D string to the bottom E string. The other 3 fingers that we've got playing this still stay on the thinnest 3 strings. So that transition, I don't know if you can see it down there on the camera, is from there to there. As I said, it's just that thumb's moving. And then the strings that we just played for that second chord, the bottom E string and the thinnest 3 strings, the same goes for the chord of G. The thumb is playing the G, and the other 3 fingers. And then for the A chord, we're playing the middle 4 strings, so we're moving everything in one. So thumb is playing the A, because that's open, and then the first, second and third fingers are playing the G, the D, G and B strings. And then we've got that little embellishment that's a hammer-on and a pull-off sort of thing. So we're hammering the third finger onto the 4th fret of the G string and then pulling off straight away. So you got... And then we're hammering back on to the 4th fret of the D string. So it should sound something like that. So we're doing that. Hopefully you sort of saw what I did there and followed it. And you'll also notice that at the beginning of that phrase, I hammer on with the first finger, which just gives you that, instead of just playing the chord straight like that. So we've got and that's literally the chord progression to most of this song. There's 2 little bits where it changes, and something I should have probably mentioned at the beginning of this tutorial is the key of this is actually different here. This guitar's tuned in standard tuning. When I did my video, I played it on that guitar, and that guitar happened to be tuned down, I think, a full tone. So that's why it's not the same key. But if you want it the same as my video, just tune the guitar down. It makes it easier to sing the song as well. But when I play this song live, I do actually just play in standard tuning like this because I can't be bothered to tune down. So yeah, that chord progression is for all the verse. When your legs don't work like they used to before, and I can't sweep you off of your feet, and so on, all the way through that that first section. And then when we get to people fall in love with mysterious ways, that section is where it starts to change. And sorry if it looks like I'm rushing through this, by the way. I just wanted to get this chord section out of the way, and you can always skip to the part of the video that you want to spend more time on. Just wanted to get this sort of done and dusted. So that part where it changes there starts on an E minor for the people fall in love in, to A, to D, to E minor, to A without the D, stays there, and then E minor, to A, to B minor, to E minor, and then to that A. And then we're straight back into that original chord progression there. So that bit, as you can see, is really, really straightforward chord-wise, as is the rest of the song. Again, the thumb is playing the root note of these chords. So for the E minor section, I'm using my thumb on the bottom E string, which is open, and then first, second and third fingers are on D, G and B strings respectively. So and if you wanted to, you could add your pinky in and play that top E note as well for that chord, because all you're doing is adding that note. So but you don't need to. Without it, it's fine. And then the A, the same as before, the middle 4 strings. D, same as before, the thinnest 4 strings. So that section there. And then again back to the E minor, same again. The bottom E string, and then the D, G and B strings respectively, with the first, second and third fingers again, same as the first time round. And the A, exactly the same again, middle 4 strings. E minor, the same. A, the same. And then the B minor is the same as the A, so middle 4 strings again. and then the E minor section, the same again, and then that A at the end we're strumming to get that sort of effect in before we come back in with that first chord progression again. So really, really straightforward. And as I always say, repetition is the way to sort of become competent at this, and so that it sounds like you really sort of natural and not struggling with it at all. And it will come. I know I always say sort of practice, 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 but it really is the way to sort of be more natural about it. And when I'm playing this and singing it at the same time, I'm really not thinking about the guitar. I'm thinking more about the vocals and the lyrics than I am the guitar. It's just so natural because I've just played so much over the years. I know where the strings are. I know how to land my fingers on those strings. It's just natural. So it really is just repetition. I know it's probably not what a lot of you want to hear, but to learn to play the guitar, you really, really have to want to be able to do it, because it just takes hours of dedication. Anyway, that is a little bit deep for this video. The only other bit where the chords change in this song is that section that goes, we found love right where we are. And there's actually no new chords in that section than what we've already played. The chords go B minor, A, G, D, E minor, A, D. So we found love right where we are. And the finger picking which strings to play with which finger are exactly the same as all the other times that we've played those chords. That B minor is the middle four strings, those strings. A again, those middle four strings. G, the G note there, G bass note with the thinnest three strings. So then, sorry, doing it really slowly, I can't think what chord comes next. So D, yeah, obviously the D is the thinnest four strings. E minor again. So it really is that straightforward, and that's all the different parts of the song. And as I said, it's just repetition to get it right. So hopefully I've not rushed through that too much, and you followed it okay, and you can sort of skip through to the bits that you want to sort of spend more time on. And as I said, I will be back really soon with some more loop tutorials and other things as well. I've got another Q&A coming as well, because I noticed that I've got quite a few questions in the comment section of various videos. So I'll be coming back to you with that really soon. But as I always say, give me a thumbs up if you've liked this video below. You can also subscribe to this channel if you'd like to get alerts when I upload new videos. Leave comments below if you've got anything to ask me or if you want to say anything. And you can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat and all those good things. Tweed Nelson is my username across the board for those. And that's pretty much all for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video, which should be really soon, by the way. Till next time, take care. Bye-bye.